It's Wednesday, January 16th, Thursday, January 17th, if you're on the East Coast or across the... And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. If you want to listen to us live, you can always do so on the SOR Radio Network, Deep Talk Radio, and Revolution Radio. If you want to listen to our archives, we have them for free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Right now, shop at our store. Got t-shirts, hats, hoodies, bags, so much more. And you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR, Newswire, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the banner, and subscribe today. The third Wednesday of every month, we talk ghosts of the Great White North, as we are joined by Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada and from Haunted Hospitals, Morgan Knudsen. Tonight, we're going to get into the psychology of the paranormal, and we're graciously joined by Cal Cooper, a professor of Northampton University over in the United Kingdom, where he studies dealing with clients who cope with psychological and paranormal phenomena. Then, at the bottom of hour number 3, we have Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine with the SOR Newswire. We first bring in Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada and Morgan Knudsen from Haunted Hospitals. Welcome, my team of Ghosts of the Great White North. How are you?
Fantastic, Dave.
Amazing as always.
And it's getting cold up here. For our American listeners, it's cold up here. Not for Mike. He was actually in plus temperatures today. But Morgan being way up in Edmonton, Alberta, me being in the middle of nowhere, British Columbia, we're at that cold point, Morgan.
Lucky us. Lucky us. Yeah, we are steadily heading towards about minus 20 right now. It's just fabulous. But thankfully, on Sunday, it's supposed to warm up. So let's hope for that.
T-shirt weather for me. Love the T-shirt weather.
Nobody wants to hear
from you. We've already trained Morgan to drink the Pepsi. She's got her Pepsi with her. Mike's on the energy drink. And we also want to introduce our very special guest tonight. And, you know, it's very rare we get university professors on this show, not because we don't want them, but because their time is limited. So, Cal Cooper, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. We got you for 90 minutes here tonight. Great to have you here.
Thanks so much. Good evening and good morning to you.
Well, it's an early morning for you, so I hope the tea is hot and everything's going well for you, my friend.
Oh, it's going really well. I've got the tea pretty close to the fire, so that's keeping it topped up and nice and hot. It's lovely and snowy outside, so it's a very kind of picturesque atmosphere, really, to talk about hauntings and ghosts and all things that go bump in the night.
How did you get involved with ghosts?
How did I get involved? I suppose it's always been a childhood fascination. Growing up, I think that the mystery about whether people do or don't experience ghosts always intrigued me. And then that mystery as to when you're going to bed at night and you're told, go on up to bed, and it's kind of dark up the stairs. What's actually going on in the darkness? And at school, when I started to get older and I'd been seeing every year A Christmas Carol on TV and the whole idea of Marley's ghost and then Scrooge being visited by the other ghosts, I loved it. But I go and seek out at the library all kinds of different books on the paranormal, all the way through to Fortean phenomena. So I wasn't just looking at things on ghosts and hauntings. I was looking at things on the Loch Ness Monster, UFO mysteries, and then other unexplained things that were going on, all the way through to Jeff the Talking Mongoose that was investigated by Harry Price in the 1930s with R.S. Lambert. And Harry Price, I, of course, became familiar with because of his fame with ghost hunting and investigating Borley Rectory, which was classed as the most haunted house in England. So I was fascinated in that. I'd read the literature, especially with friends, and we all thought, well, this is weird. You know, this is good documentation, the way it's presented in the books. It suggests these people are really adamant they've had these experiences. And look, in some cases, there's photographic evidence of Bigfoot or Nessie. You know, what's actually going on here? If it's fraudulent, how's it occurring? But I'm also only 5-10 minutes away from Newstead Abbey, where I live in Nottingham. So I live in Nottingham, I work in Northampton. And Newstead Abbey is the former home of Lord Byron, the poet. And I've grown up in this area as well. My grandmother used to take me there quite frequently for picnics. And so she would always tell me the stories that people had reported and had ended up in the newspapers for many, many years, and in local guidebooks and other places. The story of Bosun the dog, which was one of Byron's pets that he loved so much. There is a tomb in the middle of the Newstead Abbey grounds dedicated to him, Bosun's tomb. The White Lady, who roamed the grounds as well. And sometimes when people drove down one of the particular roads that goes through the Abbey and past the main waterfall, some people had said that they'd seen her sat in the back of their car when they'd looked in the rearview mirror and all the heating had gone off. And other times she'd been at bus stops outside the Abbey and buses had actually pulled over and opened the doors for her to get in, only for her to disappear. And then the Black Friar as well. Every time a family member in the Byron household was dying on their deathbed, people had seen this Black Friar wandering the grounds and wandering the house. So growing up and actually being in that location where people had had these alleged experiences, it fascinated me. So it's a rather long story with how I got into it all. So I didn't think I was going to, it was just a childhood fascination. And why do people have these experiences? A lot of people are reporting them. Some people are making it up. Maybe some other people are very adamant they've had it. I was really interested in theatre arts, performing arts, acting, and I was doing that. I was doing drama academy and dance academy and things like that. And I was training myself up with all kinds of skills for theatre. And I just thought, there's too many people doing that, qualification-wise. Too many people going to university thinking that getting a degree is your key to becoming a successful actor or actress. And I just thought, look, if it happens, it happens. If you're in the right place at the right time, if you audition for something, great. Get something that you can fall back on. Go and get some sort of general degree. So I thought, well, psychology, that can be applied to many, many different circumstances job-wise. It's a useful degree to have. And so I decided to pursue that, but I went to a particular university. I'd sought out different ones in the UK that supported parapsychology as a third-year module, so it was taught, and you could do a dissertation project in it as well in your final year. So I ended up going to the University of Northampton, and throughout all the degree systems and so forth, I've pretty much ended up staying within the university. I've never left. So that's what got me into it.
It's so funny because, it's so funny, like, I can so relate to that because my story is so similar in how I got into it. And I was such a sort of a not nerdy kid, but I was very artsy, very into the theater arts and things like that. And it just I can so relate to how you got started in it, because that's the same type of thing that I was looking at as well. And what's funny to me, and I didn't realize this about you, but you've got ties to the University of Alberta, which is like 15 minutes up the road from me.
Oh, yes, I have. I'm a research affiliate there at the Hope Studies Central.
Yeah, so can you talk about that a little bit? Because I had no idea.
Oh, I suppose there isn't much to talk about on it. I mean, I've never been to the University of Alberta. I would really like to, and they keep on inviting me. And part of my doctorate was looking at if people have anomalous experiences during bereavement, how is it beneficial? What's actually going on? So there was about 14 doctorates before my own, a medical doctorate and then a number of PhDs and psychology doctorates. And they pretty much said whenever they looked at these experiences during bereavement, that they're good for people, they aid in coping, they're very natural. So they weren't questioning the ontology. They weren't questioning, what's objective, what can we measure here? How do these experiences occur? Where are they coming from? Is it purely generated by the mind, or is it actually the dead coming forward and giving people messages of comfort? They just wanted to see what's the impact. So we call that a clinical parapsychological study. You're looking at a parapsychological phenomena, but you're looking at its clinical impact and its clinical basis.
Of course,
And so also when you turn to all the books on that, there's many books talking about after-death communications, and probably one of the most famous one is called Hello from Heaven by Guggenheim and Guggenheim. And they even mentioned what I was getting at, which was people had often finished the whole story about these experiences saying they give people hope. Well, what does that actually mean? You've not defined hope. You've not said how it works, how humans embrace hope and can manipulate it to their own advantage. Hope can be a number of things, and it can be from a very low scale chance to a very high one. So whenever I explain it to my students, I say, look, I'm talking to you right now, and we're in the middle of the day, but I could have a hope right now, and I could go ahead with it. I could say, I hope that when I get home, I can sit down in front of the TV, and I can have a pint of beer. Well, that'll happen so long as I finish this class today, and I go back and do some other admin work, and I get some emails done, and then I pack my things up, and I get in the car, and I drive home, and I drive home safely, and I make sure that I'm looking out for drivers that aren't being careful, and so I've safely got home, and then I need to make sure I have bought beer so it isn't in the fridge. There's all these steps, but I said this is how we achieve our goals, and this is a very low one. It's very possible that's going to happen because I've just got to follow these simple steps and make sure I stick to them. A higher hope would be, I hope I win the lottery. Well, that happens so long as at the very first step you make sure you're in it to win it. You've bought a ticket. The more tickets you've got, the more chances you've got. But that's a bigger thing to achieve. When it comes to these experiences, we've got a similar hope process going on, but it's far greater because, ultimately the hope is what's going to happen to myself after I die. And when these people in their bereavement phase or even years afterwards, when they have one of these experiences spontaneously, it's suggesting something else is going on to them, even on an unconscious level. Or, that experience is very strange, but it feels like they're with me. I can sense their presence, or they seem so real. So something else must be going on. So perhaps when I die, I'll either be reunited with them, but worst case scenario, once you're dead, you won't know about it. There is nothing. Consciousness becomes extinguished. So it's kind of a win-neutral situation in a way. But that's how it was giving people hope, because they thought, well, what's the point in grieving? I've got nothing to grieve for except for the physical loss of their body. And the fact I've had this experience suggests that consciousness, the soul, personality, it survives in some way because of the experience I've had. And sometimes it's supported by veridical information. The fact that the dead might give information that you shouldn't know about, but they should have, and when you follow it up, it turns out to be correct. Or multiple witnesses saw that apparition of the dead, your deceased loved one, friend, and yet they're not involved in the grief. Why can they see it as well? Why did they experience the same thing as you? So that adds support. So it was looking at, can I actually measure hope via hope scales and looking at other positive psychological traits, and also in the case of before and after these experiences as well. So I suppose my study was one of the first ones to show that, yes, there were clear differences in terms of hope before and after for the breed that did have these experiences and those that didn't. And then we explored it through 2 interviews as well. So my study was just quite a large one, looking at just purely the emotion of hope, but in the context of people having these experiences. And that's why Alberta were interested in what I was doing and took it on.
Beautiful.
I want to hop in here on a second here for a moment, because Cal, you said something right off the bat in answering Morgan's question about parapsychology over there, that there are courses and studies that are taken over there. And being involved also, even though you've never been there, with the University of Alberta in Canada, here in North America, the study of parapsychology or anything in the paranormal in university is still kind of mocked and laughed at most institutions. Have you noticed that as well in North America? And what is the biggest difference between universities in the United Kingdom that are doing this type of course and this type of study comparatively to us here in North America?
It's a shame, isn't it? America at one point was kind of ahead of its time when it came to parapsychology. Parapsychology was established in the university setting because of what was going on at Duke University in the late 1920s and then through to the 1930s with J.B. Rhine and Louisa Rhine. And then other universities were picking up what they were doing because they were disseminating their research. I have heard of people saying, oh, you don't want to, this is years ago, this is over a decade ago, you don't want to get into that. It's career suicide if you try and purely take up parapsychology because of not its reputation, but what people think of it more so. When you actually look at the substance of it, it's fine. In fact, it's better than most sciences in the way that it operates and how good its methods are. But when it comes to the UK, we've got over a dozen universities that mainly within psychology degrees, but sometimes anthropology, sociology and physics. They offer taught modules of parapsychology or looking at anomalous experiences. And there may be another dozen on top of that where they don't teach it within any set course. But if you wanted to do a research degree, so a Master's of Philosophy or a PhD or any other form of doctorate, you can incorporate elements of parapsychology or do a purely parapsychology-based project, because there might be a member of staff there that did their own research degree in parapsychology, so they can support it. They do know the literature, and so they can support another student in it. So it's accepted quite widely. I haven't encountered someone in a very long time that has frowned upon what I'm doing or said, it's quite poor that the university is offering that, blah, blah, blah. Because I think if they did say that, I'd actually say, where's your evidence for that? I've really struggled with people that make that claim that parapsychology is a load of nonsense and then follow it up with something I think, you know what, you're absolutely right with what you've just said. Because a lot of the time to put parapsychology down based on its methods, you're putting the rest of social science down on its methods. Since parapsychology developed a lot of the methods that it now uses, and
Totally.
you can't have one thing without the other. And so it's doing really well over here. More and more universities are taking it on because it can also teach the general students so much about research methods they can apply to other things as well. Parapsychology gives you good examples of what we mean by chance coincidence. When you play about with the Zener cards and you look at, how often can someone do something that's chance and then beyond chance. And that's how any study in psychology is measured when it comes to whatever phenomena you're looking at, even, personality types, emotions, people's reaction to things, is someone doing whatever it is beyond chance, so you can actually confirm that whatever anomaly you're trying to confine is actually there, it's legitimate. In America, though, I hear this a lot from colleagues like Dr. Nancy Zingroni and Dr. Carlos Alvarado. They have a really big involvement when it comes to looking at educational institutions and parapsychology. They've even tried to get some master's courses going again. And it's just so surprising when they tell me the reactions they get sometimes just from seeing the name parapsychology and how it kind of gets rejected without any logic, anyone actually saying, well, this is the reason why an educational institution can't take it on. It's all based on it's all based on what people assume, or sadly what they've read on the internet, which if anyone's involved is aware of the wiki wars that are going on and how you've got different establishments in parapsychology trying to create their own encyclopedias to combat it. It's bizarre. I mean, the people that edit those pages, it's got so bad. We've even got students over here in the UK looking into the psychology of what we might call dogmatic skepticism or assertive skepticism, where they're calling themselves skeptics. But as a skeptic myself, I really wouldn't want to be associated with them because they're not operating on a skeptical basis. It's more so emotionally driven and knee-jerk, and that they're creating pages based on, well, here's what we know of the history. Let me find a reference that knocks that out. So I can then dismiss that, and then here's another fact from history. Let me find another reference that I can use to say that got debunked or it's fraudulent or whatever. And I'm like, that's not a critical argument. That's you sculpting it the way that you want it to be and taking it what direction you want it to be. A critical argument is find everything, every bit of evidence for and every bit of evidence against, and then we'll present the case. Like a courtroom. That's how it works, and that's how we get any student to conduct an essay. So that's bizarre. But at the moment, I really wish I knew a little bit more. I mean, Carlos and Nancy could tell you so much more about how American universities are actually treating parapsychology. But I think there's a lot of false assumptions going on. There are some universities doing talk courses over there, but not as many as there should be. Not since it established this and being able to do it in the university setting. There should be so much more. But I think people just need to be educated, really, as to what's going on and how beneficial it is to bring it into any other recognized field.
We got about 3.5 minutes here before we have to go to our first break of the night. And I want to continue on this little path here that we're on, probably until the bottom of the break here. Have colleagues from North America reached out to people such as yourself who are involved in this study and this field of interest to say, what's it all about? Just out of mild curiosity or anything like that? Because I agree with what you're saying. Too many times we are seeing both science and universities and educational facilities using opinion when it comes to UFOs or ghosts or cryptid creatures, instead of using the scientific method. Well, let's prove or disprove this. Let's put some funding into it. Let's see where it goes. They feel it's a waste of money. Yet there are people of interest who would love to be able to do this, but just cannot. I know we have a gentleman at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver who is doing a study right now and on why people are investigating the paranormal. He got a $184,000 grant that's coming to an end here. And I think, this year it's coming to an end, this summer, and he has to write his thesis on it. But he was telling us, Paul was, that literally everybody who has reached out to him and his colleagues, they're very interested from around the world on what his studies are, because they would like to see universities take this subject, especially here in North America, more seriously. Yeah,
you've got to judge each case on its merits, really, as to what's going on, why a person is afraid of kind of taking on the study. And you're absolutely right. There's some cases where people are interested but don't want to get involved, and then other times people are getting involved and not enough people know about it. But when people are doing studies on parapsychology, people are generally fascinated, because it's a subject that actually starts by saying, look, we're aware of all these phenomena and people experiencing them, telepathic experiences in the real world, precognitive events, seeing ghosts. So we've got a label, and we've got the data, we've got the aftermath, but what's the process in the middle? It's a mystery that we're trying to unravel. Some people I've known, even in the UK, they've had a lifelong interest. They've gained a big reputation for what they do in the university, loads of awards and accolades and publications over time, but they never actually dipped their hand in, not until they actually retired, where the university couldn't shun them or say anything, and they couldn't get any bad press, and they get then heavily involved in the Society for Psychical Research or the Parapsychological Association at the point of their retirement. And sometimes it's really annoying for them, because then they realise, still holding links with the university, they say, why don't you do that while you're here? That's brilliant stuff. It's good publicity. It's interesting research. You should have made your interest known. And that happens for a lot of people. I've even known people apply for jobs at universities not stating the fact that their PhD involved parapsychology. And so they've managed to get the job based on trying to remove those elements. But then when they've got there and people have found out, oh, you're involved in parapsychology, would you run a course on it, please? People are making this assumption that people are going to give them a bad reaction. But again, it's those people that aren't so informed that, are giving it bad press, really, because most of the time their argument is pretty poor.
And on that note, ladies, gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on here as we get ready for our first break of the night. It is Ghosts of the Great White North, edition number 1 of 2019, with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada, Morgan Knudsen as well from Haunted Hospitals, and we are joined by our special guest tonight, Cal Cooper, Northampton University Professor in the United Kingdom, talking ghosts and paranormal all night long. We'll be back with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio. or our website, including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Got some friends we're hanging out with on Ghosts of the Great White North. We got Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada, Morgan Knudsen from television series Haunted Hospitals, and we're joined by a special guest tonight, paranormal psychologist, if we can call you that. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. Professor from Northampton University in the United Kingdom, Cal Cooper, also joins us. Welcome back to the show. And Merle, we're going to go straight to you. You got your first question of the night in for Professor Cal.
I do. I was creeping his website today. There's lots of words on there I can't say. They're really big. Just throwing that, being honest. But no, I just Society of the Psychical Research. I'd like to know more about that. How did you get into that?
Well, that's specifically the Society for Psychical Research. They've been one of the leading bodies for the scientific investigation of anomalous claims since their founding. I suppose it goes back to the rise of spiritualism. So that occurred in the 1840s with the Fox sisters. People have been reporting anomalous experiences for thousands of years before that. But it was just this boom and how it hit newspapers and public interest for people holding seances at homes and literature taking on more stories about people contacting the dead or interacting with ghosts. And it was by the late 1870s that interest was hitting some people within academic establishments more and more. And it was a group of scholars at the University of Cambridge and within it Trinity College. So it's made up of several different colleges. University of Cambridge, and there were leading figures such as Edmund Gurney, Frank Podmore, Frederick Myers, and Henry Sidgwick, and they all got together and decided to form a society that would look into these claims. Why were people reporting more and more ghosts and seance-type phenomena, and what's actually going on there? Are there conventional things and people are just fooling themselves, or when people say they see ghosts, is there something to measure? So in 1882, the Society for Psychical Research was established in the UK, and in 1884, various figures in the United States, including William James, the eminent psychologist, formed the American SPR, and their remit was more so to try and debunk what the British SPR was doing. Thinking that most of this phenomenon was pretty much nonsense. But it was within a 10-year turnaround or so that they realized that the phenomena they were getting over in the United States was pretty much the same as what we were getting, and there seemed to be some genuine anomalies going on there that they couldn't explain. So they were doing their own thing, we were doing our own thing, and often working in conjunction where people over here were publishing in their journal and vice versa. And loads of famous people over time were getting involved. So the SPR is still going to this day. I joined around 2006, 2007, when I first got involved with the University of Northampton and started publishing in their periodicals, and remained involved ever since because they offer research grants. I sit on their council now, so I'm involved in a lot of the major decisions that take part. They have annual conferences and a whole library, and all of their overflow of library and archives goes back to the University of Cambridge, which anyone can actually go and visit. Everything from wax moulds of the medium Franek Kaluski, seance items, and really rare manuscripts and documents.
Do you take on cases or evaluate cases that come to you? Or your people?
Yeah, I mean, they can do. I suppose I've had a lot of cases because I wrote the book Telephone Calls from the Dead, and it was just updating what researchers had done in the 70s, so I was interested in these strange cases. People were reporting with telephones where they got calls from people that were verified to be somewhere else at the time, or these people were known to be dead. So how was the call actually taking place? What was going on? But because I'm also based in a university department that is heavily involved in parapsychology, we get cases quite often from people that feel quite disturbed by strange activity happening around the home, or them having constant precognitive experiences that come true, and it worries them quite a lot. I suppose the one that I get the most of, though, are people moving into a new home and saying that they're plagued with poltergeist activity. It's not just the central heating kicking in again and bangs, raps and taps on the wall where it's just the pipes not being lagged properly and you're getting all this movement every time the heating comes off or goes down. They're saying they're seeing a movement of objects and other things like that. So it's great when people recognise, first and foremost, why don't I go to the university rather than, a local amateur paranormal investigation group that don't necessarily have qualified physicists, counsellors, psychologists, a whole team of people that are qualified that can actually deal with the well-being of this person as well as look at the anomaly as well. Admittedly, though, the last 20 years, things have been diluted. The SPR and other places don't get as many reports of these phenomena as they used to. And so people have thought that, well, maybe actually there's a decline in this phenomenon actually happening. I don't think that's the case. I just think that there are so many independent groups now around the world that people don't know where to actually report these experiences to. So it just looks like there's a drop in them. And I just don't think there is. They're just going elsewhere.
Yeah, I think I agree. And it's funny because the one show that I've got coming up, Paranormal 911, I get basically stacks of cases, and then I'm give my opinion on them. And it's funny to see how they, even in Canada, both, and in the States, it's really I think very oversaturated. But they, you get these cases, and they're amazing. They're so hopeful. They are anybody that has ever lost anyone would want to hear these stories of, these people who have passed away calling for, help for their loved one, people who are, what appears to be spirits looking after their loved ones after they've, after these people have made their transition, all sorts of these incredible stories. And yet it seems like the West and probably the UK and stuff as well too, they want to turn it into this horror show. And the more I find that when I'm talking to directors and producers and whatnot and saying, these are stories that really can change the way people view this phenomenon and change the way, we embrace this stuff. And yet they really want to be driven towards this sort of, horror genre and whatnot. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, but it's something I've definitely noticed.
Yeah, I've had this increase in the last 6 months of speaking to more and more producers, and a lot of them are the United States that have got in contact with me, just wanting a parapsychologist involved. And but they're stuck in that position of saying, we just don't want to do another show where people are running about with cameras in the dark. We want something else that looks at what you actually do, because we've looked at what you do and you don't seem to be involved in haunting research, but you're involved in parapsychology. And I said, well, yeah, but when you see those shows on TV with people running about with night vision cameras, that has nothing to do whatsoever with what we do at the university. Even when we investigate hauntings, that's not how we go about doing it. And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, first of all, why have they got the lights off? Why the night vision camera? Can I see the original account of what someone reported there in the first place? Oh, yeah, 4:00 in the afternoon, they saw a man standing by the window. Well, 4:00 in the afternoon, it shouldn't be dark, should it? You shouldn't have the lights off. Surely it was perfectly lit. Well, yeah, it was. Then why are you doing the opposite to what the account reported? Why don't you actually try and replicate the conditions and see if you can see something? But then that comes back to, well, that would be boring for TV. Oh, probably would, but it's the truth of the matter. If you want to spin it a different way and run about in the dark, you can do, but just please make sure that you remember that it's got nothing to do with the original account. Some people experience things at night time. They might wake up and see something at the end of their bed, but we put a lot of that down to hypnagogic and hypnopompic states when we're going to sleep and when we're waking up. We're really in that state of, we are in an altered state and we're confusing dreams with reality. And that's why we're prone to seeing things at those times. But most of the time, people have always reported early mornings, about 6, 7, experiencing things, or late in the afternoon. There's that beautiful poem that kind of goes along with that, with the, when I was walking down the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I wish that man would go away. But when I returned home at 3, that man was waiting there for me. And when I looked about the hall, I couldn't see him there at all. And I always tell my students that. I say, most classical places to see apparitions, hallways, stairway, why? It's the most popular rooms of any building because they interconnect every room. People are always walking up and down them and passing on them. But also those times, remember them. It completely contradicts this whole nighttime thing. But to go back to what you said, Morgan, yeah, I mean, it really throws them whenever I speak to producers as well, and I say, these are the actual conditions, and it contradicts what you're after. You're going to have to think about how you could actually spin this to make it entertaining. But when it comes to people's experiences, not, going down the route of checking the phenomena, is it legitimate, is it objective, can we measure it? Look at the other side, what's the impact? And it really, again, contradicts what people say. This is going to scare someone. It's really going to disturb them. They should be having these experiences of the deceased. That's not what the research says. And I always have to enforce that when you get a popular TV. Again, they're portraying themselves as a skeptic, and as a skeptic, I'm quite offended by the association when they say, it's not right that mediums are doing this and pretending they can contact the dead and deceiving people. Well, there's a number of levels there. If they're taking money for it, and they've been caught out and they have said that they're not doing it legitimately, well, then we have an ethical problem there. But they genuinely believe they're contacting the dead and they're doing it for free, or they are making a living from it. Who cares on that level? If the person is actually happy with the reading that they've had and it makes them feel better, they probably feel better in themselves for going through grief and having it so bad that they need some help, that they've not gone down the route of being labelled as having some form of psychosis by going to an actual bereavement counsellor. They've gone for what's classed as popular entertainment, gone to a medium and actually gained way more benefits doing that, where someone wants to hear about their experiences, than a counsellor that's not trained in it, doesn't understand parapsychology evidence and the research out there, and has probably shunned their experiences. That happened quite a lot. It's been documented that most people that have gone to their GP or a counsellor have had their experiences shunned. So these experiences are very, very important to people, and when they're embraced, when they're understood, when people are respected and we empathise, it makes them a lot better. They don't embrace these experiences day to day necessarily, but they incorporate them, forget about them. It just feels better. It's more natural because they're happening all the time, so they are natural.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's where, and especially I know in the States and whatnot, the shows, it's so oversaturated with that kind of show, and it's the what I'm seeing, at least in Canada here, is the trickle down of that, where people are now becoming so fearful to talk about this stuff, and they think that this phenomenon is based around this horror show, and what drives me crazy is the fact that, some of the best experiences, at least of my life, and I know of a lot of people that I've talked with, have been, understanding that there are things that happen in this world that we can't explain yet, that we're taught all our lives cannot happen. And, the level like you're talking about of hope and joy and all of this stuff that they benefit from, it's so important.
Mm-hmm. We're spotting it all the time. I go to Buckinghamshire New University every year for their annual Positive Psychology Symposium. They're one of the unique universities that's offering a master's in applied positive psychology. And the great thing is that two of the lead people there in the department are parapsychologists. There's Dr. Matthew Smith there, who was one of the first genuine parapsychologists to appear on Most Haunted, and Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, he's head of department there. And within positive psychology there, I've gone and talked about these experiences and even submitted papers to their symposium saying, look, we can actually turn to a variety of different positive emotions that have overlaps with parapsychology, not just in the real world setting, but look at the lab. When people were doing the original Xenocard studies with Rhine, so that's your circle, your cross, your wavy lines, your square and your star. So you've got these 5 different symbols, 25 in a pack. If you were going through a pack and trying to guess what's on each card as it's drawn, you should get 5 out of 25 by chance. So they wanted to see what's going beyond chance. And you wouldn't do it on a single run. It's statistically meaningless if you do that. But they did thousands upon thousands of trials of this for each individual. And I found that in some of the literature back to the early 1980s, Stan Krippner, who's a very famous parapsychologist at Saybrook University, he talked about this in terms of humanistic psychology, which was the kind of predecessor to positive psychology. And he said, look, people were treating this as a form of goal attainment. When they realized that they were actually doing good at the Xenocard test, they'd actually turn it into a game. And they try and strive to make their next score better. Based on what? That they don't know what technique they're using or anything. All they know is that if they're doing well and there's no way of cheating or anything like that or sensory leakage, then they're doing it via ESP. So they're trying to will themselves to be better at their own ESP ability to get a better score next time. So they're embracing positive emotions to kind of drive them, and they're getting that positive drive when you're collecting something or you just want to beat your score next time, beat your personal best. So you can see overlaps between fields like positive psychology and parapsychology there. I mentioned bereavement experiences, so there's thanatology mixed with parapsychology. There are many, many overlaps.
Do you believe that these television shows that are out there, although they have done a great job of promoting the paranormal and promoting the idea that there are haunted and supernatural events happening anywhere on this planet, but do you believe in the long run it has been successful in showing the way of the paranormal, or do you think that it's been confused with entertainment in television comparatively to real research?
I think it's 50-50. It certainly confused a lot of the real research, but at least it's still something out there that's very pro, and it's saying we are interested, someone should investigate it, and here's a show where we're going to investigate it. True, they've not necessarily gone about it the right way, but it is great when you get on the shows known researchers, parapsychologists, and sometimes they might draw in other experts from history and philosophy and physics and other things like that. So people then realize, oh my God, there are actually people out there working full time in the field, not just for the show. They're not just a presenter. And so we did start to see the impact on that quite a lot. After 2000 or so, when things like Most Haunted and many other shows were kicking off again, and there was this surge of media interest again for looking into hauntings and other things like that, we realized at the University of Northampton that we were getting a lot of people coming to us doing an entire psychology degree just because they knew that when they got to third year, they could do a taught course in parapsychology. And it's at an accredited university, and that not only could they do that, they could do an entire dissertation on it. They could do a full telepathy-based study, or look at precognition, or go and investigate a haunted house or a poltergeist case. Completely up to them. So I was surprised that it had such an impact on some people that they thought, you know what, instead of just buying the parapsychology textbooks and subscribing to a journal where they could just improve their knowledge by just reading and reading and reading, they went through the whole route of the expense of a psychology degree, just for that tiny element at the end. That meant that they had to pass modules in cognitive, behavioral psychology, child psychology, research methods and statistics, you name it. There were so many different modules that they had to pass until they actually got to that final hurdle. So I thought that's fantastic that the TV, these ghost hunting shows and so forth have had that much of an impact that some people wanted to go to those lengths so that they could get this legitimate degree that's accredited, that involved an element of parapsychology taught by parapsychologists that are known as well. So swings and roundabouts. I do think it is a 50-50 situation. If people really are interested, they see through the smoke and mirrors, and that they see what is the legitimate part to these shows and what's actually going on in the real world.
The reason why I asked that question is because, and we only got a couple minutes here before we got to go to break, was because over here in North America, there is a lot of criticism that the television shows take because a lot of people had no interest or didn't even know there was a field of paranormal research until they saw the television shows, and basically that's been their education on how to investigate, although some of those techniques may not be the best way to use them. Mike would agree with that. I'm pretty sure Morgan would agree with that as well. So have those television shows on a psychological level really given people, in your opinion, false confidence on how to actually investigate the paranormal?
Yeah, I do think so in that case, and it's a shame because then they are starting to waste a lot of money as well. I mean, I've got right next to me on the shelf a thermal image camera, and shelf below I've got an EMF meter. I haven't used them in a while, but the departmental equipment, these have come direct from the university. But I have to hold my hands up that I know the basic elements of how and why I'm using these things, but the best person to actually bring in when we're investigating, say, a haunting, you want an environmental-based scientist or a physicist, someone that's actually using this equipment to measure the environment all the time. First and foremost, I'm a psychologist. Why on earth would I actually need this kind of equipment in any other setting? So I've actually had to read up on this equipment to know why we're using it in the environment and what I'm measuring. And it's strange when a lot of people have these and they actually think that an EMF meter, if it's beeping, then there must be a ghost in the room, it's measuring that. Based on what? What even is a ghost made of? You'd actually have to know that to actually build a device to measure it. So there's a lot of false assumptions created by the media, and I guess some people that then get the equipment and go out and use it in that way, it's a large element of thrill seeking. Other people have done done what I've done. They've gone out and they've read and they perfectly understand what they're doing. So not everyone that's doing this in an amateur way is actually misleading themselves. They are doing it legitimately. I suppose one of the downfalls is they might not be publishing their results, so we just don't know what they're doing and where they're doing it and how they're doing it, and it would be nice to know. So yeah, it does mislead how research is actually carried out in that respect. There was something else I was going to say off the back of what you asked me, and it's just trickled away.
Is that problematic, though, for any type of proper research? Because I know one of the pet peeves, as we're into our final minute here, that I have, is you get all of these people who have not conducted anything scientific since high school, and here they are claiming that they're conducting full scientific experimentation on paranormal phenomena on location.
Yeah, I suppose it's not problematic because they're not publishing it. They're not the people that have got the voice. When people want to know what's going on in the science, they actually turn to the journals. That's where science is happening. It's where peer review is taking place, and it's where full reports are being published. And if they're doing it via false methods, they wouldn't even get past peer review. But I don't think they're even in a position to want to sit down and write a paper, because that would also mean writing down your knowledge of the background literature and why you're doing what you're doing now. So at the very most, these people might have some sort of social media platform or a YouTube channel, and anyone that's in their right mind knows that's not how science is produced. If you want to know the latest findings for cancer research, it's not on someone's Facebook page. It's in a research journal. And so, yeah, I don't think it matters in that respect. If they're having a good time and they're going out and they think that what they're doing is the right way to do it, then fine, because it doesn't even touch on the science whatsoever. If they've got a large platform, though, and people think that that's how it's done, that's when it becomes misleading, though, if they've got a lot of followers.
Everyone, hold tight. We are going to wrap up this first hour right now. Hour number 2 of Ghosts of the Great White North with Mike Morin, Morgan Knudsen, and Cal Cooper coming up right after this. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media, then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Chris Thor joins us to talk about the hunt for Forrest Fenn's gold. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio, along with Rev Radio. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. I hate you, Desert Clam. Cholangiocolexto. Oh, I've already butchered it. Cholangiocolis. I'm done. I'm going to try this one more time. Cholangiocolicisto colodocectomy? Really? It's not even Friday, man. You can't be butchering me on a Wednesday. It's not even Friday, Clam. But Desert Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Go to our store right now. Hit the shop button on our website. Pick up a t-shirt, bags, hoodies, towels, socks. We got it all. And you can read up on our news section put together by Captain Shirk called the SOR Newswire and so much more. Tonight it's Ghosts of the Great White North. It happens the third Wednesday of every month. We are joined by Merle Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada, from Haunted Hospitals television series, Morgan Knudsen, and Dr. Cal Cooper from Northampton University in the United Kingdom. We are talking paranormal all night, the psychology behind it. Welcome back, everyone.
Hello. Nice to be back.
Hello.
Merle,
Yes.
you wanted to start things off here.
I do, but I'd like to say your reading levels is about my levels. It's pretty good.
Dude, this password, hold on a second here. Let's look at this password for a second. Okay, there's 5.
It's fun just to hear you pronounce it.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 34 letters. Like, come on.
Just write it off.
We even know what it
word.
is.
It's a fake word. It's made
It's
up.
terrible. Cholangiocolicisto colodocectomy.
Bless you.
Is that it? What does that mean, Doc? What does that mean?
I think it was a form of sneeze. It really was.
I have to agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Or you're having a stroke.
It is. Okay, the Clam put the message on here. It's a surgical removal of the hepatic duct, common bile duct, and gallbladder. It's terrible.
Oh.
Terrible.
Okay.
We're all wrong.
Huh.
I hate the passwords sometimes.
Are we a little smarter now? I don't know.
No.
What is?
No.
I don't know what happened. I don't think so. I don't feel smarter.
Terrible. Anyways, Merle, hit it up here, buddy.
Yes, so you study bereavement. That seems to be your wheelhouse on your website. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a connection between bereavement and the paranormal? Meaning, do you think bereavement is nature's way of consoling, or do you think bereavement could be a form of the deceased loved one consoling?
It's a tricky one. I mean, if we define bereavement, it's essentially separation anxiety. And if I say the word bereavement or grief, most people think of death and losing someone through death, but it's not that. It is separation anxiety in its rawest form, and that could be a number of things. That could be waking up in hospital and realizing you've been in a car accident and then looking over and your left arm's missing, they've amputated it. There's bereavement. You then have the realization that that arm is not coming back. For the rest of your life, you are going to have one arm. You might have a prosthetic limb, but the biological left arm that you had has gone. Childhood toys and comfort blankets or teddies that you've held onto for years and something that really meant something to you because of who gave it to you and what it means. Giving that up or seeing it get destroyed. Again, there's a separation. Crying at weddings or even relationship breakups as well. It's just suggesting a new stage of life where the social circles are going to be different as well. Some people cry at weddings, but it's because it's a happy occasion, but it is marking the end of something, the start of something new. And that's what happens when someone dies as well. It's the end of something, but it's the start of something new. And we mourn, we grieve because we have lost that physical person. We have reached the end of the time of enjoying that person's company, their personality, what they bring to our lives, what they bring to the routine of our lives. And that's why it's sad for many, many levels. And knowing that in many ways it's a finality of one thing, but it is a step onto, well, how does life progress now? Because I'm still alive. So I would, as a thanatologist as well as psychologist, I would always look at it on that level. I wouldn't see it as bereavement is the chance for the dead to try and comfort the living. However, when we look at people's anomalous experiences, people are adamant that that's what the deceased are doing. You know, you get people from a variety of different backgrounds where sometimes they'd always believed in the paranormal, they'd grown up in a very kind of spiritual household or with a religion that supported the notion of anomalous experiences, or even people that had always been outright atheist, and also very dismissive of these experiences and other people's experiences, probably completely mocked people that had these experiences. And yet, when they suffer their own loss, they've been going about their daily business, maybe washing the pots in the kitchen, turned around and then just seeing, oh, you know, there's Granddad stood at the other side of the kitchen staring at you. And very clear as day, as though he's actually stood there. He's not semi-transparent. It's not just his upper torso with all these depictions of ghosts we get. It looks as real as you or I. And then just disappears, or might say something, might actually say something that you don't know anything about, but after they have disappeared, you follow it up and it turns out to be correct. These are the unique aspects. They've been documented widely, though. Even back in the 1880s, the SPR had done a massive survey called the Census of Hallucinations, where they'd done 17,000 postal correspondence on whether people had these experiences or not. 10,000 reported in the affirmative. And so then they kind of analyze that even further to look at all the different raw elements. So they're very common. People have them for different reasons. A lot of it could be attributed to memory and going back to the family home. So, of course, we expect that person to be there and all their personal items are there. So maybe that's why, on the whole, people have sense of presence experiences, because we're in an environment that would expect their presence to be there. But then also associated smells, perfumes and tobaccos. The weirder ones are when we believe we've been touched by the dead, or we can hear their voice, they've yelled at us from the other room, or we can hear someone coming down the stairs, or we've seen a movement of objects. So there are some elements to the bereavement experiences that sometimes seem to go beyond conventional psychology, what we know of anomalistic psychology, and that's why we have these clinical parapsychology overlaps. But all of my research on bereavement has not been on testing the claim. I have written about it in Continuing Bonds, the second edition, by Dennis Klass and Edith Stephan. You know, what evidence within these experiences would say something else is going on. But on the whole, I've said, you know, how do they help with coping and recovery? So I've mainly looked at it purely from a psychological aspect.
I don't know if you found this as well, but I know over the years for me, you mentioned earlier atheists and kind of how they deal with some of this stuff. And I've always found it really interesting, because what I've experienced with a lot of them is after they, you know, oftentimes will get done arguing about it, you know, something will happen where they've lost somebody or they've had an experience, and they come back and they want to talk about it. But it's interesting to watch them, at least from what I've experienced. It's interesting to watch them trying to process what exactly they've experienced. Have you found that too?
Yeah, I had a few of my own dissertation students that wanted to follow up what I'd done in my own research, and we're still doing it now. There is a massive survey out that I keep on posting on my Twitter regarding these after-death communications. We do still want to know about these, so anyone listening, please go on my Twitter and look for this. But we've had students follow it up, and they found that one of them looked at the attitudes of skeptics, people that were more so adamant that this stuff wasn't going on than what we expect of skepticism of weighing up the evidence. Their own personal assumptions were that it wasn't going on and people were misleading themselves. But when they had these experiences, one of the categories of their shared experiences as a whole, as a group of skeptics, was that it didn't fit their worldview, but they had it. They had this experience. They couldn't deny it because they didn't want to doubt their own senses. Why do you doubt your senses, Scrooge? And so they decided to try and fit them within their own worldview. So they incorporated them. They accepted that anomalous experiences happen, and then were a bit more respectful towards other people having them. But whether they got a science background or whether it was due to a religious background, they found a place for it. And they were more open to it. They still remained skeptical, but their skepticism became more proper, more true, that they actually weighed up evidence rather than making knee-jerk reactions. And so, yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying, that kind of happened. It showed it in our data.
Yeah, I found it really interesting because, when you talk with them, before any of this stuff ends up happening, and they're so rooted into if I can see it and I can touch it, then it's real, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there's so much in the world that we can see and touch or we can't see and touch that obviously is real. So I mean, right there, I find that their argument kind of falls apart anyway. But yeah, it's interesting to listen to them and or at least what I've found, listen to them try to get their head around what exactly has gone on, especially if it's something that's impacted them with a deceased loved one, because then they've got the emotional side that they're trying to deal with also. And I've had some very interesting conversations with a few that have just they really struggle with how does this fit into this theory that they're rooted in, that okay, if it's physical, then it's real, and that's the end of it. So I mean, I find that the ones that can accept it, it gives them this new energy and this new life to be able to realize that you can not understand something completely, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to loads of psychological anomalies. I mean, okay, does that mean that we can't accept dreams because they're just a purely one-person subjective experience? I can tell you about my dreams from a few hours ago, but there's no evidence for that. You can't prove it. I can't really prove it either. I can just tell you. And you might tell me your dreams, but vice versa, I can't prove your dreams either. It's a purely subjective experience. I can't use any form of CAT scan, fMRI, EEG to actually measure my dreams, apart from knowing that I'm in a state of REM. And so at that level, that's when we expect dreams are occurring. But I can't measure or record the dream itself. Same goes in many ways for emotions. I can describe to you when I feel happy, and I can describe to you what I think love is. But it doesn't mean to say that you are necessarily experiencing the exact same thing. It's only through language that we're sharing a commonality of experiences and assuming that they're the same thing. But that there's no substance to it. There's nothing to actually take out and stick in a test tube and measure. We're not dealing with that. We're dealing with human experiences here. So it's not like other sciences where they're dealing with something objective. They're trying to test and measure and analyze. We're trying to test and measure and analyze our experiences. And the biggest problem of human experience as a whole is we don't understand the main thing that generates all of these things. Consciousness is the biggest mystery of all the sciences. Why does this biological matter, the brain, with its neurons and the electrical firing and the way that it's specifically made up and the different regions of the brain, why does all of that together generate awareness for life and gives you individual personality and awareness? Why does it do that? Where does it come from? At what point do we actually really become conscious? We don't really know these questions. There's no set answer for them. We are trying to figure it out, but we're still in the early stages of mapping different regions of the brain and what they actually do. So, there's always that question. If you want to know what it's for, first find out, if you want to know what it does, first find out what it's for. And it's like stripping down any engine of a car or a train or anything like that. What do all of its components actually do? And if you know what they do, then figure out how they're actually working together. And then you'll understand how the engine works. And you'll understand the car better if you did that as well. Yeah, put the key in, turn it, the car works, well, brilliant. But why is the engine doing that as a whole? And you'll know that by knowing its individual components.
Well,
I probably waffled way beyond what you were asking.
No. The funny part about it is, Cal, is in the field of ufology now, the word consciousness is really starting to take over because there are a lot of UFO experts and researchers out there who believe that a lot of these craft are actually flown by consciousness rather than some sort of technological steering wheel that aliens may have, like we have in our cars, obviously. But it's amazing that you're looking into the whole consciousness level of the paranormal as well, because the word consciousness really seems to be taking over any field of the supernatural as we speak right now. That's like the word of 2018 heading into 2019.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of criticism for it, though, as well, where people have been misusing the term and they don't fully understand what they actually mean by it, or that they're just throwing it in because sometimes it appears like a fancy word. I'm not trying to say that everyone's doing that, but certainly when I've been reviewing things, I've been noticing people picking up other people and saying you've misused the word consciousness there. But I can understand how it's being related to UFOs in some ways. D. Scott Rogo, in his book The Haunted Universe, had said that he didn't think UFOs were necessarily an objective flying thing in the sky. He thought that sometimes they were generated by ourselves. We created this vision that we'd seen in the sky. If more people were seeing it, maybe it's something down to group suggestion or misinterpretation. So he believed there was a lot of psychology to the experience of the UFO. So that's where it makes sense to say, our consciousness is responsible for these experiences that we're generating. That totally makes sense. I can understand where people are coming from if they mean it in that particular way. I can relate to that.
I want to also ask you, in regards to your own research into paranormal parapsychology, have you ever done any tests on experiments that have been done, say with the Frank's box or the Skull experiment?
Skull I was never involved in, but I know many people that were, from Nick Kyle, who was the president of the Scottish Society for Psychical Research, through to Richard Wiseman, who not only is I suppose he calls himself a former parapsychologist now, but certainly a very accomplished magician. He'd gone to figure out what was going on, see if he could find some explanations. I've got to admit, I think there was too much fraud going on in Skull. I didn't like the conditions that I'd read about. If I was there, I would certainly be an absolute rebel and constantly smuggling cameras and things like that. I would never conform to a situation where the mediums or those that have a special location have full control. So I always kind of lose interest when people start to talk about Skull and they go in depth on it. And I just think, I'm interested in your personal experience for having been there, but I just don't like this thing of being told what to do when it comes to that kind of scenario. The researchers should have full control. But Frank's box, we've tested those loads of times when they first came out, more so to look at the psychology of people that are using them and what they're interpreting. So I edited the book Paracoustics. It's an anthology of the physics and psychology of sound and what different people have done. And I suppose our leading researcher in electronic voice phenomena, the psychology of it, is a lady called Anne Winsper, who's just finishing her PhD at the University of Central Lancashire on this. And she's found pretty much what some researchers that went at this for a long period of time did as well, like David Ellis, that a lot of it involves group suggestion or the pareidolia effect, where we've got it in an acoustical sense, where if you're hearing random sound, you're trying to naturally fill in the gap. The brain loves logic and things that it can relate to. You look at the clouds, you see a race car or a bunny rabbit in the cloud. Fantastic. I'm glad you do. But it is ultimately a cloud, and it's not a race car, it's not a bunny rabbit. Your brain is picking out a recognizable shape, and it will do that with sounds as well. When it comes to the Frank's box, these are broken radios that are constantly scanning the radio waves and not locking on to any particular one, which a radio is meant to do. That kind of ability within the box is taken out on purpose. And so you have all these snippets of the sports reports, some music, what radio hosts are saying, conversations that are going on, political discussions and all sorts. And it's a fascinating psychology experiment for me. I just don't think that there's anything in terms of anomalous effects to be studied within the Frank's box just because of what its purpose is, what it's meant to do. It's meant to be an entertainment factor. I think the more interesting EVPs are in the domain of taking a blank cassette that's all sealed or a reel-to-reel tape that's all sealed, take it out, and then just hit record once you've got it on a machine in a soundproof room or somewhere where you've tried to control for the noise. Just leave it recording. Maybe ask questions if you want to and leave time periods in between. If you're getting something on playback in a period where you know is blank tape and an area where you can't hear anything going on, and yet on playback you're hearing something, that's fascinating. That's where the early research started in the 1950s. And I think if anyone wants to study EVP and think that unusual things are being recorded, that's where you need to go back to.
We only got you for about another 3 minutes here before we got to let you go start your day at work here.
Yes.
And we appreciate it. I want to get Gail's question in right off the bat here before we let you go. And Gail in the audience is asking, you mentioned physicist earlier on. What would a physicist do in the field of the paranormal?
Physicists can, especially when it comes to field investigations, look at what's going on in the physical environment. I mean, when it comes to hauntings, they've got all kinds of things that they can help you measure there, everything from electromagnetic fields through to infrasound. And certainly if they are environmental scientists as well, they can tell you a hell of a lot about how the environment might be contributing to our own experiences. That's why having a psychologist there as well can make a brilliant team up between physicists and psychology. I work, as I mentioned, with paracoustics with Steve Parsons. His background is physics. So I've always thought whenever we've gone out to haunted locations, we work very well as a duo because he's looking at what are the physical effects. And I know as a psychologist what the impact those physical effects could have on the mind and body. But I'm not a person that's trained to actually measure those effects that he's looking at. He is. So that's why we have that crossover. And the same for the lab as well. People claim they can bend metal with their mind. Then great environment to have a physicist in. What does the physicist know about metal and how it can be manipulated as well? So that's where we get some overlaps.
Excellent. Actually, we got time for one more question. This one comes from Mike. I was going to try and get to it after the break, but we'll get it in now. In your research experience, what do you think the difference is between a haunting or a ghost and then a poltergeist? Can you have both on the same location?
Oh, God, that's going into a few definitions, and I probably haven't got time to define them all. But, yes, you can have them all on the same location, absolutely. A poltergeist would be just physical effects that would either center around a person or an environment. There's a false assumption that it's always adolescent teenagers that would be the focus of poltergeist phenomena, but we've seen throughout history that not every case is attributed to that. An apparition could occur at any time, anywhere, spontaneously, so it's not fixed to a location. And a haunting is suggesting that in a particular location, people are repeatedly over time experiencing the kinds of effects I've just mentioned in the two prior definitions. So spontaneous movement of objects, sounds, raps, taps, smells, and also potentially seeing apparitions as well.
And we got about 40 seconds left. Where can people find you, your research, any books you've written forwards on? Let us know.
Oh, fantastic. So, go to www.callumecooper.com. That's my publishing name, so it's also the name on my website, callumecooper.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, the same name, Callum E. Cooper. And that will take you to links to my Amazon pages if you're interested in books that I've written. There's a new book coming out within the next month by Dr. Alex Tannis called Psi in Psychotherapy, which should appear on Amazon soon. I edited that and wrote the foreword for it. But literally tomorrow, a new book comes out called Haunted Castles of England and Ireland, I think is the full title, but it's Haunted Castles, and it's by the photographer John Mason, and the stories about ghosts related to them by Professor Roland Rotherham. And you can't get that on Amazon, though. You have to directly email John, and for those that have got a pen and paper, his email is lostgod1@aol.com.
And I got to end it right there because we're about to step out. Thank you so much. More Ghosts of the Great White North right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldina Ross. Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. We've passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters right here in snowy British Columbia. We are hosting Ghosts of the Great White North tonight with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada and from television series Haunted Hospitals, Morgan Knudsen. Mike, Morgan, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Mike. Hey, I want to get into this topic here, guys, about bereavement and people seeing ghosts and spirits right afterwards. Now, I know from a personal point of view, as many of my listeners know, I lost my 29-year-old nephew back in July, and it was tough. It's still tough. He was the only child to my sister, and, he had an overdose. I have no problem admitting that. For those people who don't know, he overdosed on fentanyl, and it's the drug that's killing a lot of people in the Vancouver area and people around the world. But nonetheless, there have been numerous, some would say a plethora, of paranormal experiences that my family has experienced since then. So I'm going to start off with you guys, because you guys are the paranormal team looking into this. Well, on separate teams, actually. I'll clarify that. But nonetheless, you're our paranormal experts here, our gurus. And Mike, we'll start with you on this one. When it comes to bereavement, are we making this up in our own minds, these experiences, because we are missing the person so much that we are almost conjuring some sort of activity? Or do we really think that we are being visited by loved ones who are saying a final goodbye or holding us from the other side?
To me, that I think that it is the other side sometimes. Example being, sometimes I'll be missing my grandfather. I'll just use me as an example with this. And I'll smell his chew. And it acts kind of like calms me down, or just makes me not miss him as much, kind of soothes me, use that word. But I've often thought about that, and I was thinking about it last hour. Now, is that my head playing games on me just to calm me down, or is that actually my grandfather being like, hey, what's up? Chill out. Or even with my grandma, I'll smell, she used to wear this classic old lady perfume like roses. And I'll smell that sometimes too. I was very close to my grandparents growing up, more so than I am like to immediate family members. But I often smell that, especially when I'm upset. So would I say I'm still bereaving my grandfather that died over 20 years ago? I don't think so. So, yeah, I think there's a connection. It could be the afterlife coming in to check up on you.
Morgan, what do you think?
It's really interesting to me, because I think the separation that we kind of have in our heads about whether these experiences or whether these entities are, sort of on the other side. Like, we hear the term the other side often and whatnot. And I think what at least what I've found in my experience has been there really is no other side. It really is all here. It really is all now. And I think it comes down to our state of allowing and what we are allowing ourselves to perceive, because ultimately, our world, if we want to break it down to the atomic level, our world isn't solid anyway. And, what we receive through our eyes and our, how our brain translates that information and what we see as solid and what we see as something that's tangible versus what we don't, all comes down to things like frequency, particle or atomic vibration and all of these different types of things. And I think as we're, we think that, there's just this other side to things, but really there isn't. And what I've often told clients over the years that have come to me and say, I want to communicate with so-and-so, my mother passed away or my father passed away. I've lost quite a few people in my life. My dad passed away of cancer. My business partner with Entity Seeker, she passed away. She was quite young. She was only 28. And, what I've told them and the rules that I use myself is that they are absolutely 100% aware of who we are and what we're doing, and the interactions that I have been thankful enough to have with many of them, as well as the things that I've heard clients and whatever come forward with. But there really isn't that separation that we think there is. And, we've got a lot of stories that go around, and we tell a lot of stories about, they go somewhere else or so on and so forth. But what I've found and what's been really interesting is that and the research will back this up, that the more allowing state the person is in, the more likely they are to have these occurrences. Like, for example, oftentimes these occurrences will happen when people are doing some monotonous task like vacuuming or doing the dishes or watching TV or something like that. And because they've kind of put that grief aside and they've let their mind go a little bit, and it just raises their awareness enough that they seem to be able to get this information and get these messages. So I think it's 100%, it's a real thing, but I don't think it's coming from necessarily like some other plane of existence.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure. One of the theories that I never really bought into, Mike, was the whole, you hear all these people talk about, my loved one leaves a penny for me or a nickel or a dime or a quarter. When I'm thinking about them or I'm missing them, all of a sudden I'll find something along those lines. And I always thought that was a little bit of hogwash. Okay, because, it's just way too coincidental. And I know, there's a lot of skeptical people who are going to say, what, Dave's not playing the woo on this one? That's my Twitter crowd. But nonetheless, for me, it was just like, that's just way too coincidental. I go around town, and if I see a penny on the ground, I'll pick it up, the whole penny for your thoughts thing and whatever you want to call it. That's just basic right there. But after my nephew passed, I started finding dimes. And I remember I'm someone who does not carry change. You'll never hear the change jingling because I hate that sound. There's a few sounds I hate in life, and that is hearing the sound of change clinging together or clanging together, whatever it is. And here in my pocket was a dime on the ground right outside of my vehicle, a dime at my doorway, a dime. I started finding dimes all over the place. It's now stopped, but for a couple weeks, I didn't find it. It's not like I was going outside, there's a dime, there's a dime. It wasn't like that, like it was raining dimes. But there were times where I was really missing him, or I just needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, and I'd find a dime. And it was just absolutely intriguing. And now I don't know what to think in regards to that, Mike.
That's why I brought up smell as the example. I little too coincidental for me, but it's the smell. I respond highly to smell, especially those two distinct smells I talked about. Was like my grandpa's snuff and the old lady rose perfume. It only happens when I'm really upset or wound up, and those two smells seem to comfort me. So I don't know if it's my mind, like just triggering and comforting, making myself better, or if it's them checking up on me, consoling.
Could it be both, Morgan?
Could be.
Yeah, I think, we kind of assume, I think, based on, popular opinions and stories and whatnot, that we're supposed to get this, great hand of non-physical coming down and showing us this, brilliant apparition or something like that. I mean, and some people do experience those apparitions, but I think we take for granted the little nods from non-physical, whatever you want to call it. And, it's the small things. Like, Mike, I can relate to what you're saying, and not so much with the smell, but I was doing a show a couple of years ago now, and the whole thing was it was a damn nightmare. And I ended up with a whole pile of work on my shoulders that I wasn't expecting. And I remember laying in bed the one night, and I have this little lantern that you have to crank this dial on it in order to turn it on. It's an electric lantern, but you have to crank the dial on this thing. And I was sitting there, and I had this thing lit by my bed because I was writing in my journal, and I thought, oh man, like if Steph, who was my business partner with Entity Seeker, I was like, man, if she was here, like, so my brain was kind of headed in that direction, but I thought, she'd be the perfect person to help me deal with this. And I closed my journal. I'm like getting tired, whatever. And I turned the lantern off. And as I say, you really had to turn this dial all the way. You had to physically do it. And I woke up probably, I don't know, about a couple hours later, and I turned around and the lantern's on. And it was really interesting. And I'm like, I know I didn't touch it. I was sleeping. And nobody's in the house. So it was a really interesting little moment. And, it's not always these great big, I think, signs and displays that we see in the movies and things like that. It's just these little nods every once in a while. And it's good to be able to pay attention to them. I'm not a huge believer in coincidence. And I think sometimes they step in. I had actually another show in August. I was doing a lecture at a historical music venue here in Edmonton. And it was another situation where I came home. I had just come from Toronto from filming. And I thought, oh my God, I know I've got my stack of notes and cue cards on this show. I had about 24 hours to get ready for this thing. And I thought, okay, I just moved, so I knew it was in a box somewhere. And I got up the next morning. I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to pile through this and try to find it. And the stack of cards were sitting all in order on the top of my bin of files there's no way they would have been sitting there. Nobody had been through them. And there they are sitting in perfect order on the top of the files. And it's little things like that, and I don't think I don't think that stuff's coincidence. There's no reason for them to have popped out of my filing cabinet and stacked themselves on the top of it.
But is that a loved one, Morgan, or is that just fate being, happening, fate and coincidence? I think we've all had those situations before where we just can't explain what's going on. It's like when Mrs. SOR cleans the house, I never see anything anymore again. It just disappears. It's completely paranormal, right? That's just the way it is. But go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think at that point though, you're defining. You've got to start defining like what is fate then, and then it's sort of it's going off on this whole other thing, because I think as soon as you have to start breaking it down logically. Like, okay, has there been somebody in the house? Well, no. Okay, well then, has there been somebody going through my filing cabinet that I didn't know about? Well, no. The house has been locked up. Why is this stack of cards out? Like there's really no, when you start to break it down logically, it's easy to turn around. And I find like a lot of the skeptics will do this. They slap a label on it and just be like, oh, it's coincidence. Well, no. Hold on. Let's break down the thought process here. Let's break down those steps. How did they get from inside the filing cabinet to laying on top when there's nobody there? And, it's so you kind of have to start breaking it down and trying to figure, is it coincidence? Well, it's weird.
Mike, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are when people say it's coincidence, that's code for they don't have a reason, so they just use that word. It's easier, especially with things like that. I agree with Morgan. Sometimes things happen like that. I've had lots of things. Oh my God, where did I put my keys? And then you go to the washroom, or you explain that when I've already looked there. I'm an adult, so I know I've looked around twice. And yeah, it coincidence maybe, or there's that word again.
I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with that, because I think, at times I do believe that there is some sort of, other side power that has helped me out. Call it godly, call it angelic, call it whatever you want. A loved one on the other side who is sitting there looking to, help us out in a time of need or desperation when it comes like car keys or something along those lines. But you do have to wonder, where this all stems from. And is it just us being forgetful as humans? Because when we put too much on our mind, we forget where we put things. Or is it actually divine intervention? And I think that's the big mystery. That's what we don't know. Like, how do we know, Morgan, just to play devil's advocate here for a second, that with your cue cards here, that maybe when you moved, you put them on top there, and you open up that drawer on top of your filing cabinet, and boom, there they are. Like, we don't know. You may not remember because moves are stressful.
Yeah, I think there's always that factor that's in there. I mean, I definitely know that for me that wasn't the case, but I think what people need to realize, especially when we're dealing with the paranormal and non-physical stuff just in general, and even when we're dealing with things almost on the atomic level, is that it really speaks two different languages. It's like you can break this down rationally to a point, but there's a heart language that this stuff speaks as well. And we talked with Cal, quite a bit tonight about emotion and things like that. And, probably one of the best experiments, if we want to take it to the science side of it, that displays something like this and displays, the power of intention and this kind of thing, is the double slit experiment, where, you've got the ending of an experiment, having to do with light waves and particles. And the people that are conducting the experiment, if they have got a set intention, that the end of that experiment, the results of those experiments will mimic the intention of the person that is actually conducting the experiment. And Dr. Dean Radin is probably one of the leads in this field, because he does them so much at the Institute of Noetic Science, but he's at the point where he can no longer be in the room when the experiment's going on, because he knows he influences this, the result of this so badly that it doesn't work. And so I think when we get into this, it doesn't logically make sense that, these light waves are switching back and forth, but at the end of the day, it is. And it does have to do with these the person's intention as to what they're expecting. So I think non-physical in general, it speaks a different language, and it doesn't always follow the rules of science as much as we want it to. So, I mean, we live in this world that has a very strong spiritual component to it. And we can't ignore the fact that we don't understand everything that's going on yet. Nor will we, because that's the fun of it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Mike, you want to chime in?
I was just going to agree with her. I agree that you can't explain everything, and some things there are will just scratch it. For what science there is, some things can't be explained.
Yeah, definitely. And I really do understand that, there are things that can't be explained, and there are things that we're never going to know, and maybe we're not even supposed to know. I mean, we really don't know when it comes down to it. What are we allowed to do here? And I think in the end, as we only got about 2.5 minutes left before we got to go to break, Mike, I think in the end, though, do we take it as just a personal experience? Do we take it as trying to find that scientific type explanation, or do we take it just for what it's worth? Another weird happening in life, a mystery we will never solve.
You take all of the above. That's another reason we're in the field. We're in the know. We want to know. We want to talk to people that have experiences. There are these scientists that do the scientific aspect, but we're in the paranormal field where we're kind of outside of the realm, where we are going to try and get answers for that sort of stuff. But yeah, all three of the above. A lot of it's personal experiences that are documented for people.
2 minutes remaining, Morgan. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Cal was saying and Mike is saying here is that, it is really a personal thing. But at the same time, I think, these experiences are universal and we can't ignore that either. And I just feel like, I'm one of the believers that I think the purpose of our lives is joy. And I think part of the wonderful experiences that we get to have, as paranormal researchers and scientists and all these different, these roles and hats that we put on is just that, is the joy of being able to go and experience these things and experience these things that all our lives we're taught we just shouldn't be experiencing. And that's the closest form to real magic I think that you're ever going to get.
Magic. Ah, yes. I think we use the word magic too wrong in this field.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We totally do. Totally do. But nonetheless, we're down to our last minute here on the show. I really hope that there is something to it. I think it's really cool if there is something to it. I like to think the experiences that I have had with, my nephew passing on from the other side and the strange things that happen there, I really hope that it is him. It's comforting to know that, my sister being a single mom who is still, finding feathers or having things move in her home now. I think it's great because that boy loved his mother. And in the end, whether they are real or not, we can get into this in the next hour. Does it really hurt? Does it really hurt to believe or not believe when we come down to it? And I don't think it does. I don't think it hurts at all. I really don't. We can get into that when we come back on Spaced Out Radio. We got another 30 minutes of Ghosts of the Great White North with Mike Morin and Morgan Knudsen. You are listening to the Mighty SOR, Ghosts of the Great White North. They will be back on Wednesday, February 20th. And we'll be back for another hour number 3, coming up right after this.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
It's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social media freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel, the freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social media freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to be broadcasting to you. Tomorrow night on the show, Chris Thor joins us. We're going to talk Forest Fen. If you don't know what Forest Fen is, well, there's $3 million inside Yosemite Park in the United States that you can find. And if you find it, you get to keep it. That's what it's all about. That's what we're talking about. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network, Deep Talk Radio, Revolution Radio, and of course, we have the password. Oh, we got the password. Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cholecystectomy? I don't know. Whatever it is. It's way too long. It's only Wednesday, but the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, soon shop at our brand new store. Actually, you can shop now at the store. Not soon, but now. T-shirts, hoodies, bags, socks, pillows. We got it all for you. Go shopping. It's well worth it. And, of course, read up on the Newswire put together by Captain Shirk and so much more. Ghosts of the Great White North happens the third Wednesday of every month. We are joined by Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada and Morgan Knudsen from the Haunted Hospitals television series. Their next appearance will be on Wednesday, February 20th. Morgan, Merle, welcome back to the show.
Dave,
Yeah, go ahead, Merle.
I was going to say, I figured out how to not have the click on my mouse. Anyhow, keep going.
Perfect. Like it. Love it. Right before the break, we were talking about paranormal experiences when people are in bereavement, because for a lot of people, we want to believe that our loved ones are still with us. But how much of that, Mike, do you think is just hopeful, wishful thinking comparatively to actually having our loved ones hanging out with us?
I think a chunk of it is wishful thinking. I'll use being a paranormal investigator as an example with that. A lot of calls we get are a lot of files we get. It's people calling us, wanting us to, they just lost someone fresh within like a month, weeks. And they're convinced that their loved one is still in their house. And they really lean on our group to try and communicate, get audio recordings, video recordings, any sort of spike on our tools that they need the I find that a lot where people really lean on us with that. Would you agree, Morgan?
Yeah, it's funny because there tends to be sort of this desperation, of course, after people lose somebody that, oh my God, I've got to contact them. I've got to get a hold of them. And I think part of that panic is the stories and the some of the religions and some of the folklore over the years and whatnot of this idea that these spirits somehow get stuck here or stuck somewhere or something like that, and that in my experience is just not the case. And I think research for the most part doesn't support that as well, and I think that sends people into problems where they believe that there is just this desperation where if I don't do something, then that person is not going to pass over or whatnot. And then they end up paying somebody or whatever to, pass them over. And I mean, that goes all the way back to, early history in Christianity, and as well as many other cultures, Scandinavian and all sorts of things. So I think that ends up screwing people up. But I think there's also this panic that they've just lost somebody. I mean, when somebody passes away, that's a trauma. And I don't think people always acknowledge just how much healing sometimes you have to do when something like that happens, or when any sort of traumatic event in your life happens. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily a death, but people have a hard time coming to terms with healing their stuff. And what I find with clients, which is why I developed my program, Teaching the Living, was that people's unhealed stuff gets mirrored back to them with this activity frequently. And, we see it where, people will have these emotional breakdowns. Like, I always use the term bleeding, because I think oftentimes, you've got an open wound, you bleed it everywhere. And people don't know how to stop the bleeding. And it comes out in all sorts of different ways. Sometimes it comes out as, lashing out at loved ones, or anger, or, illness, or, all of these different things. But sometimes we also see it coming back as like phenomena and activity that we don't understand. So I think it's multi-layered when we get into this subject.
But is it a bad thing? Okay, and what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who find true consolation in those experiences. They find that true consolation that their loved one is with them.
Yeah.
Their loved one is there and communicating with them and being a part of their lives, even though they are on the other side. There are a lot of people who will believe that it is dangerous, that we're putting out some sort of false hope. Maybe they aren't from a religious belief, maybe they're agnostic, or whatever you want to call it, really doesn't matter. But there are a lot of people out there who tend to believe that there is something that is helping them from the other side. Is that dangerous in your opinions, guys? Mike, we'll start with you on that. Or is it just fine that somebody is finding comfort and solace in thinking that they are having paranormal activity with a loved one who's just crossed over?
I think it's fine. Whatever gets them through their day, whatever gets them through their grieving, whatever helps them cope and repair. I think it's perfectly okay for them to feel like their loved ones around, or have experiences of their loved ones around. They would probably feel quite empty, and that's what they're grabbing at straws to still remember or feel their loved one for probably up to a year or more after. And yeah, totally, it's good that happens, that they experience that stuff.
Morgan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a positive thing as long as the person is doing the work to heal the wounds that they have. I think when things start to run into trouble, or at least what I've seen over the years, is when it becomes a obsession or a crutch that stops them from healing. And that's where I think the line gets crossed. But I think, the idea that we can start to embrace non-physical as something that is present with us, including the consciousness, whatever you want to call it, of loved ones and things like that. I think that is unbelievably beneficial, and it's definitely a root in the way I move through the world. But I think really the key is to make sure that, when you do lose somebody, or, something traumatic goes on, is to do the work and heal yourself. Love yourself enough to heal the wound that's there. And because ultimately, something like, I got to pull out the Ouija board, for example, and start, trying to communicate with this person. I mean, if that's what you're doing every night and you're not actually grieving the loss of the person that's passed away, or grieving the loss of the physical presence, then that's not going to get you where you need to go. And it's also, in my opinion, I don't think it can put you really in the range of being able to communicate with them anyway, because you've got to have that ability, that awareness.
I see where you're going with that, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there, Morgan, who will say, "Well, Morgan, you don't know what it's like to lose a child," and maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm just putting making that argument there, that testimony there, because there are a lot of people out there who have lost children who are absolutely destroyed. Their entire lives are their children, and you can't blame them for that. If you have children, you will know that having a child is one of the greatest gifts out there. As difficult as it is, and as much as you want to pull out your hair sometimes and give them a good kick in the butt, you can't, because once a parent, always a parent. And the fact is, there are parents out there who've lost children, like my sister, who literally will say, "Well, you don't know what it's like. You're not there. You haven't experienced what I've experienced. So who are you to tell me about grieving?"
Yeah, the work is the same. At the end of the day, and parents being probably even more so than, maybe somebody else, depending on what that relationship was with the child. But, at the end of the day, it's still that open wound that we're talking about. And that grief still needs to be healed. And with parents more so probably than maybe some other categories. But even more, it makes it even more prevalent that person needs to be able to love themselves enough to heal it, because that's, the one thing I always tell, because I've talked to so many parents that have lost kids and, have been dealing exactly with what we're talking about. And I always say to them, do you think that your child or anybody else would want to leave the legacy of, whenever you think about them or, talk about them or anything like that it leaves them in misery? And I've never encountered somebody that's turned around and said, "Oh yeah, that's totally what they would want." And it's really about what would they want their legacy to be? A parent that's joyful and happy and thinks about them and feels good, or is it somebody that is obsessing over their death and not able to get through it and not able to grieve it? And I don't think that's what they want.
I haven't been put in that situation. Mike, go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree. A lot of the times when I'm dealing with clients that are grieving a loss, I will reverse it and I'll be like, why don't you celebrate your time you had with them? Look at it like that. And a lot of times you see a switch in their head and they kind of change their thought patterns, right? I am stuttering. Their thought process or pattern. And it works. That's how I, like, when I lost my mom, I celebrated her. I didn't mourn her. And that was my coping mechanism with how to deal with her death. I found it very easy to slip into a huge depression and grab onto straws. Or, I don't know if you can hear my cat meowing. I told her not to. But that's what I mean. I think it's yeah.
It is difficult. It is very difficult nonetheless in regards to it, because we all heal in our own different ways. And, some people who say lost kids for the last 20, 30 years have never gotten over it. They've never got over that pain. They've never got over anything to do with it. And in reality, you can't blame them. I mean, you may get frustrated and say, what's taking so long? Why can't you do this? They're gone. They're on the other side. And I hate to sound callous about it, but there are a lot of people who just say, I can't do it. I can't function. That was my lifeline. That was my everything. And you can't blame them, right? But nonetheless, we do have a lot of people out there who can, and they take that comfort in it. How do we tell? Mike, we'll start with you on this one. How can we tell whether or not it is a loved one on the other side who is coming back to say hello, comparatively to, say, just a spirit that may be mocking that identity?
Good question. I think it comes down to personal experiences or feelings. Being in the paranormal field, I think I can I can feel if it's like a loved one or if it is a mocking spirit, depending on the houses or wherever you are, giving you a false sense of security and then hitting you with really bad energy or negativity. I think that's when a more negative spirit would be playing with your emotions on that, trying to give you that false sense of security. So yeah, I do think you can tell the difference. It comes down to the personal aspect.
Morgan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we get a case where there's any sort of client that is struggling, I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is whether or not these people are, truly honoring themselves in dealing with whatever the heck is going on. So, I mean, you get into these homes where, you've got negative activity going on or whatever, and it all ends up coming back it all really ends up coming back to the idea that the people that don't clean up their stuff and don't begin to heal where they are tend to be the ones that end up, in our experience over the years and in the studies that I've done, they tend to be the ones that run into the problems with this stuff. And the people that are able to really get themselves into that place of allowing and get themselves into that more positive place, they end up having these really, really amazing experiences. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what they have to start looking at. And that pattern is really pervasive at all of the locations that I've been to. So, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, how are you looking after yourself? Do you love yourself enough to continue the legacy of the person that you're, that you're grieving? What would they have wanted for you? And forgive yourself for I think just holding yourself in that state of negativity. And when you're feeling badly about it, feel badly about it. Don't beat yourself up for it. Just, own that, be upset about it. Your cork will bob back to the surface eventually. So, it's a process. It's a different process for everybody. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
I 100% agree with those thoughts.
It's difficult, but a lot of people don't want to hear that either. A lot of people want the grieving. I mean, I know.
Well, you have to grieve.
Well, I understand that, but I also know people in my personal life, without mentioning names, that are addicted to the grief. They are addicted to the sympathy. They become addicted because, that phone call of people checking up on you saying, "Oh, are you okay? Is everything all right?" They get addicted to that. And I've seen it with my own eyes, very, very close to me. Very close to me. And, I'm not sitting here complaining about, geez, I got to put up with this now or anything along those lines. No, that isn't it at all. But I do believe that there is a major, what's the word I'm looking for? A major piece of influence there when you have people who are using that grief in order to gain sympathy and use that sympathy for their own selfish benefit. And we see that all the time. We do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that pattern of behavior, I mean, now we're sort of leaning into the realm almost of personality disorders and things like that. And I think that's a whole another level of broken. But I think when we get into stuff like that, now you're not really dealing with grief per se, but you're dealing with sort of a subset of mental issues. Because, I mean, I've met people exactly like what you're talking about, and they hang on to it. And ultimately, there's something about that, the comfort in misery, that they really, really gravitate towards. And we'll get clients like that, who will be really stuck in what I call stuck in their story. And they've got a tragic story that they tell to themselves and to other people repeatedly over and over and over again. And when you try to disrupt the pattern and disrupt the story, because ultimately investigators, that's what we do. We have to disrupt the pattern in the house and the pattern of the client. And usually part of it's in their head, part of it's what they're doing, and following through with it. But a lot of them do not want to stop the story. They're comfortable in the upset, and they don't realize that the good stuff, the really good stuff that can happen in your experience, happens when you can reshape and let go of that story. But they get to this point where they think that attention that they're getting for it or whatever is something that's, really positive. They want to be, upset about a dead loved one, or they're being belabored by some entity in their house, or whatever the story is. But in order to get to the point where, you're ready to deal with this stuff, you really got to be sick and tired of yourself. And you got to be sick and tired of the situation. And a lot of people they're just not sick and tired enough.
Can you blame them, though?
I don't think it's a matter of blame. I think it's a matter of, the want to really be able to sit within themselves and to how they want to experience the rest of their life. It's a decision. Healing is a decision. And whether or not, you want to make that decision to go through, and sometimes it is moment by moment. I mean, I've definitely been in that level of grief where it has been, if I can make it through the next 5 minutes, things will be looking pretty good. And sometimes it is moment by moment. Sometimes the only thing you got to be grateful for when you get up in the morning is the fact that you're sucking in air. And that might be where you have to start. But at the end of the day, it depends on, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And that's a choice.
You know what? And that also goes for those of us who suffer from depression and anxiety too, because sure. I know I struggle with that. I'm man enough to admit there are days where I don't want to get out of bed, or I'll never show it to the audience, but there are days when I wake up and it's just like, what am I doing here? What's the purpose? What's the point? Why am I here? And not to make this a depressing subject, because we only got about 90 seconds left in tonight's show, but it's a fight. And people have to realize that no matter what, they are worth that fight. And that's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. Merle, tell us about your team before we let you go.
Honda Crew Canada, we are set up to have a very busy year. We started filming all throughout British Columbia. Going to be filming probably once a month for the next 6 months, and it's good times. You can find us on Facebook, Haunted Crew Canada, Instagram, Haunted Crew Canada, and website, hauntedcrewcanada.com.
Nice. And Morgan, how about Haunted Hospitals? What's going on there? What are you filming?
Oh, yeah. Haunted Hospitals, well, in Canada, it's every Friday night on Travel and Escape. But people can find me at entityseeker.ca. And my brand, I guess, is Entity Seeker Paranormal Research and Teachings. And you guys can find me on Facebook, and as I say, entityseeker.ca is the website. And I'm always kicking around Twitter at Morgan Knudsen. So
there you go. Add her up. Well, another edition of Ghosts of the Great White North wrapping up here on the mighty SOR as the music kicks in. Oh, wow, that was good timing. February 20th, Mike and Morgan will be back. We'll have another special guest lined up for you at that time. Don't know who it is yet. We'll figure it out. They'll be good, though. They will be good. Coming up next, we got Olaf Phillips, the SOR Newswire, coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on the mighty SOR. And with that, we got to bring you the SOR Newswire, as we do every night on the back end of the show, with the weird, the wacky, the WTF, and Mr. Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by ParanoiaMagazine.com if you want to check out all the weird stuff. And we bring in their editor, the man, the myth, the paranoia legend, Mr. Olaf Phillips. How you doing, buddy?
Greetings and salutations.
Love it. Love it. Another big day, man. Another big day in the world of Floridian news, I'm hoping.
Yeah, it was a little light on the Floridian. But
don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Well,
that just hurts.
I've been
that just
cranking
hurts
out
my
the Floridian
feeling.
news.
Well, I know you have.
No,
I know you have. But it's become an addiction. It literally has become an addiction. I mean, what am I supposed to do
Tomorrow.
here? All right.
Tomorrow.
All right. You know, I was scrolling through Facebook today. Maybe I got a little too caught up in my own personal life here. I didn't see much really high-quality news. What did you find for us?
You know, frankly, there wasn't a lot of high-quality news. It was pretty late today.
We still got to battle through.
Yes. I did find this. A San Diego bar with 2,800 whiskeys seeks Guinness records. A San Diego bar is having its 2,800 varieties of whiskey counted by Guinness World Records in hopes of being recognized by the organization. The Whiskey House, located in the Gaslamp District, said Guinness adjudicators are counting its whiskey collection, more than 2,800 whiskeys, to capture the record of the largest commercial inventory of whiskey in the world. The bar said last November it had another 300 bottles to its already 2,500 strong collection, bringing its menu to a total of 61 pages. The current record is held by the Hotel Skansen in, I should be able to pronounce this because it's Sweden, but I can't. Fargestaden?
Farjestad.
Which boasts...
Farjestad.
Farjestaden. Sweden, which boasts a whiskey collection of 1,179 bottles. So if you want whiskey, you want to go see these guys.
No kidding. Wow. That's really pouring on the whiskey tonnage there. Wow. That's expensive.
Yeah.
That's very expensive.
That's like super duper expensive. That's not just expensive. It's like horrendously expensive.
That's more of an addiction. When you start getting up in that high of a collection, do you really sell them? Do you want to sell them? Do you want somebody to say, yeah, I want that bottle, or I want that bottle? And you're like, well, that's going to put a dent in my collection because I only have one bottle of that. Do you really give it up? I don't know. Oh, well, the dilemma.
That's why you make it insanely expensive.
True. But what if it's like a rare bottle that there's only like 20 in the world or something like that?
There's a sushi restaurant near my house, and there's one piece of sushi on there that nobody ever gets. And the way that the price is determined is by the guy. It's like full on Japanese owners, everything. The way that the price is determined is it's the guy's golf score times 10.
Weird.
You just do something like that. Yeah, you do something like that.
Oh, you have to be creative. You have to be. You just can't sit on your laurels with something like that. That's for sure.
No,
not exactly.
At all.
Are you a whiskey guy? I'm not.
I am. I like bourbon and I like scotch.
Oh, so you're a one bourbon, one scotch, one beer kind of guy.
No, I don't drink beer.
Well, obviously you don't like George Thorogood then.
I love George Thorogood, but I still don't drink beer.
I hear you there.
Conundrum.
Yes, that's why you're the paranoia legend, my friend. Let's move on to the next story here, brother.
Yeah. Africa by Toto playing on a loop in the African desert. An artist set up an installation designed to use solar power to play Africa by Toto in the Namibia desert indefinitely. Max Siedentopf, a German Namibian artist currently based in London, set up a sound installation titled Toto Forever to play the 1982 song on a loop at an undisclosed location in the 1,200-mile-long Namibian desert. Siedentopf said solar batteries power the installation's MP3 player and 6 speakers. He said the desert is around 55 million years old, making it the perfect spot for the installation. Hopefully the song will play just as long, he told CNN. Even though Africa by Toto was released in 1982, it is still very much present in today's pop culture and frequently used in memes, and even Reddit pages are dedicated to the song, Siedentopf said. I am very intrigued by this and wanted to pay the song the ultimate homage and physically exhibit Africa in Africa, he said. The artist said he will not reveal the exact location of the installation. He said it is like a treasure that only the most loyal of Toto fans can find.
Definitely has to be that way, man. Definitely has to be that way. You know,
oh yeah.
How can you not have it? But here's the one thing I noticed where they're putting that. Thank goodness there is no animals for that song to drive nuts. I hated that song when it first came out, and I remembered I was 9 years old, and I still can't stand it now. It's like Culture Club's Karma Chameleon. I mean, or Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. There are certain songs that I will literally run down the road screaming my head off, plugging my ears, that just drive me nuts. Oh, throw in, what's that, any Counting Crows song as well. They're garbage.
Yeah, Counting Crows, I'm there with you, but I actually like Toto. And I like Africa. And I really like the Weezer cover. The Weezer cover of Africa is really good.
Well, we'll agree to disagree there. It is a cool idea.
Weezer.
I'm not going to say that it isn't a cool idea. It's a very cool idea. Very cool idea. But
it is.
You can tell it's going to push the animals away because they're going to be sick of it after, like, the second run.
Yeah, maybe. Or they'll get it stuck in their heads, and then they'll run away and still hear it in their heads. You can't escape that song, man.
I've done the best I can. Done the best I can.
You can't escape it.
You know,
now, this next one...
Yeah, go ahead. No, go for
it. Excuse me. Oof, that was a long one. Now, this is the longest story of all the stories I found. And to me, it is truly the WTF story of the night.
All right.
Nike's new golf shoes feature a coating of grass. Nike has unveiled a new version of its Air Max 1 golf sneakers featuring a grass-like turf material to make the shoes blend in with the course. That's it. That's the whole story.
It's actually kind of cool because one of the biggest complaints that they have for golfers is the fact that those who are wearing spiked cleats or golf shoes, whatever you want to call them, they are tearing up the greens and they are tearing up a lot of the fairways and everything without any sort of replacement, especially the greens. And on the PGA Tour, they still use the steel. Many golfers still use the steel spikes rather than the plastic ones that kind of blend into the ground. Maybe that's changing now, but the fact is, I think it's a good idea because golf courses can take a big time beating on that, man. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, but you didn't see the shoes, man. They're literally.
Oh, I'm sure they're ugly as sin. Oh,
they're horrid. They're just horrid. They just look gross. You know, I'll tell you, news is light tonight, so let me wax poetic for a moment.
All right.
Many years ago, during the .com bubble, right, I used to drive up and down a road called 101. It kind of runs from San Jose up to San Francisco. And I used to drive up that road to work. And, you know, you'd see like At Home and, you know, all these different companies that were very famous at the time, although nobody probably remembers them now. But the one thing that always struck me is that there was a road sign, like a billboard, and it had grass on it. It actually had grass. They had literally planted grass vertically on this billboard. And for and I forget what company was advertising with it. It was something stupid that wasn't even related to grass. It was some high-tech company who was being cheeky, right? So eventually the company went out of business, and I guess they stopped paying the water bill to water the grass. And over time, the grass started to die. And it was like the whole like .com bubble. As the .com bubble got worse, the grass became more dead. And so you've got this huge billboard with this dying grass. And after a while, the grass completely died, right? And then you drive by it, it was just a billboard of dead grass.
Mm-hmm. Almost just matching the entire economy. That's actually kind of sweet.
At the time, man.
Insane.
Yeah, it was weird.
Insane.
All right.
We don't get fancy stuff like that up here in Canada. I can't even remember the last time I saw a good billboard up here. I'll tell you what I am sick of. Maybe they have them in like retirement communities or to promote retirement or camping communities down there. But you know they always have that big wooden chair with the big sign on it. Do you get those?
No.
They're like those really uncomfortable. Yeah, I hate those. Hate them. Drives me nuts. I don't know why. Yeah, those drive me nuts. Anyways, next one.
Large ice disc rotates in Main River. A rotating disc of ice is mesmerizing onlookers in a Main River where it formed as a result of cold water and water currents. Gina Riddell, Marketing and Communications Director for the City of Westbrook, shared photos and video of the disc on social media. Riddell said the disc is slowly rotating counterclockwise, and birds have been seen riding on the disc, rotating in circles. Researchers said that ice discs, which have been documented in the United States before, occur when cold air comes in contact with an eddy in the river, and the ice forms in a circle, which rotates due to the current it creates by slowly melting. So ice discs.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the video to that, if you haven't seen the video to that, you got to check it out. It's actually really cool. It's really cool watching it because it looks like the moon. Like if you didn't know that if your camera was zoomed in or the video camera was zoomed in and you didn't see the skyline that surrounds it, you would think, man, is this a weird shot of the moon or what? It's absolutely strange. Absolutely strange. So,
all right, that's
all
it.
right,
That's it for me. It was a slow news night.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll do it all again tomorrow night. Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Bring it.
Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Then we read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What should we be improving in 2019 in regards to paranormal research? Improving. Lots of interesting answers to this one. Let's start off with Joe. Paranormal researchers need to stop bashing each other on all the radio shows and podcasts. The paranormal experts are their own worst enemy. Who does not agree with that? All of your thoughts.
I totally agree. Yeah. I've actually gone on at least one podcast where they wanted me to name names of people that I thought were foolish or idiots or whatever. I was like, I don't play that game. Never again. No. Won't do it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Look, there are people I don't like in this industry.
Sure.
All right, because I think they're charlatans. I think that they are people out there who are there for themselves and not the right reasons. You know, I'll never name them by name. The public can figure them out. But, I mean, give you an example. You take the title of investigative journalist and look that up in the paranormal, you can see who it is. Right? You can see who it is. It's not my job to call them out.
Mine is more centered around people who believe that weird blue bird people live in spheres that go through space. That's the one that I don't like.
What, you don't like blue chickens? Lay blue
I don't
eggs?
like blue chickens I don't like blue chickens flying around in circle ships. It's just on my field. Yeah, I know.
The duck, Jim. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was
going to let you finish your thought.
Okay, well, who also claimed that the Nazis built a swastika-shaped moon base that he lifted right out of Iron Sky. I'm not going to go there.
All right.
He lifted it right out of the movie.
The Duck, Jim Mallard, says tracking data points of weather, who's investigating, etc. Data points, very important. Debbie, stop making it a money-scamming, fame-seeking thing. Get along with others without the competition, drama, and learn from each other's experiences. Stop the jealousy. I disagree with this a little bit, okay? And I've said this many a times on this show. If somebody can make money doing what they love, go for it. However,
I agree with that.
If you are a ghost hunter where you cannot prove what you're doing, you cannot charge. You cannot charge because it is so easy for you to take advantage of people and get yourself into some serious hot water. We see it with psychics all the time who are literally thieving people out of thousands of dollars that they may or may not be able to afford. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's terrible.
William. Stop the money
go ahead.
scamming.
Exactly.
Stop the money
William.
scamming and the arrogance.
Personal and professional integrity and standards of conduct. Kelly, more kick-ass beards and power stashes, just like Uncle Dale's. That's a good one. Kevin, Dave, for you, absolutely nothing. You are a priceless gem in a bag full of dirt. The rest should concentrate on professionalism, being selective of their submissions, and most importantly, stop the jealousy. Don't be upset by the achievements of others. Be happy for them and working on getting yours. That is how you grow a commercial market and how you grow as a person. Huge comment there by Kevin.
Yep.
Let's get to Cindy. I left a very special board to me yesterday because they had to share a person who is a supposed fraud. We need to start bashing each other and just don't worry about it. What is she saying here? Wow. I left a very special board to me yesterday because they had to share a person who is a supposed fraud. We need to start bashing each other. I wonder if she meant we need to stop bashing each other and just don't worry about it. I feel like whatever needs to come to light will come to light, and just spend more time and energy doing what you love, which is researching, whether it's Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or anything paranormal or cryptid. Harlan, teleporting to Dave's studio. Eat. Okay. Susan, the paranormal researchers should start working together. Marilyn, they have to help people, not just get their face on for TV ratings. Gail, establish a global database with a standard of qualifications and experience required for membership and acceptance, thus separating the professionals from the amateurs. Natasha, your questions! Just kidding. Betting information and witness testimony. Gabe, shutting it down and leaving the spirits and paranormal alone. LOL. Trixie, how about some actual evidence instead of hearsay photos and video? Hard evidence, not soft. Michael, photographic, recording, and monitoring equipment ready at all times. I want to get to Josh's here. He says, I could tell you one of the biggest changes that needs to be made. Stop asking for video and picture evidence just to say it's fraudulent because you didn't find it. This, I feel, is the biggest reason we are seen as a joke to people. Goes for cryptids, UFOs, and all. I am so sickened when I see fake posts immediately, or picture is too good, it's fake. Then the same person will say, it's too blurry, so fake. That's the truth. Tell us where it is on Paranoia Magazine, Mr. Olive.
Paranoia Magazine, check out the podcast, new one coming on Sunday.
And we want to say thank you to Captain Shirk for doing the SOR Newswire, making it look all pretty for us. Go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the news banner. Big thanks to Morgan and Mike and Cal for Ghosts of the Great White North. Tomorrow night, it's going to be a fun show. We're talking the gold of Forest Fen. Where is it hiding? We'll find out. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to all of you for making this a very, very special night. We're going to do it all again tomorrow because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.